Hello everyone, welcome to Danu's Irish Herb Garden. We've got a beautiful day here and I'm just out doing a bit of tidying up and weeding and I thought I'd talk to you today about how to make your own herb garden, because I do a lot of videos about herbs and how we can use them as medicine and as food, but I haven't actually ever spoken, I don't think, about how you can make your own herb garden. So that's what I'm going to talk about today, and then we're going to look at some questions such as why would you do it, how do you do it, what do you put into it, and why would you put those particular plants into it. So for me, I'm really lucky because my herb garden, I do have a herb garden here in the garden, but it's also the whole garden and the hedgerows and the fields and meadows and the seashore, because I do a lot of foraging for medicinal plants and they're absolutely everywhere. So I'll show you what I mean. Come on, dogs. Walking along the road with the dogs, I really love to observe all the many different plants that are here. The majority of which, and there are tens and tens of them, the majority of which are medicinal and can be used as medicine and as remedies for various ailments. At this time of the year, the honeysuckle is very fragrant and beautiful. It's a wonderful antiviral, so we can start making winter remedies with it. And the dandelion has popped back to remind us that now is the time to harvest the roots of this powerful medicine. Meadowsweet, a beautiful fragrant remedy, is flowering between June and September, so we can be harvesting that. And this agrimony, which is another medicinal plant, I love to pull off the sticky burrs or seeds and just scatter them into the hedgerow to encourage more plants. And then the purple loosestrife is another very beneficial plant ally, especially for respiratory problems, amongst others. And you know, there are lots of plants that have been and gone because we're now at August. So don't forget things like cleavers and nettles. And here I've just found some wild mint, which is sacred to the Druids. It was one of the sacred herbs of the Druids. And I love it because it smells a little bit different to other mints. And when we were children and rolling around in the grass and in the fields, we would crush the mint and the fragrance would be released. So when I smell it now, it really evokes my childhood and brings me back to those simpler and, you know, carefree days. One of the things I like about this time of the year is collecting the blackberries. They're a food and they're a medicine. You know, we can make tea with the leaves, we can make jam, we can make oxymels because they're full of vitamin C. So look, this time of year I should always take a bowl with me whenever I walk because there's always blackberries to collect. And of course blackberries are medicine as well. So I'm going to take these into the kitchen and then I'm going to bring you into my herb garden, which is at the back of the house, and that's where I grow things that do not grow in the wild here. So I'll put these in the house. What I can't find outside in the wild, I grow in a designated herb garden. So I've got calendula, I have horseradish, I've got some wormwood. Actually, horseradish does grow wild here. but this is very handy. I also grow some of the wild sunflower, which is elecampane, and I have some southernwood, some mugwort, and this is vervain, which is another sacred herb of the Druids. And I grow this for the digestive and nervous systems. And I'm going to take a little bit of this lemon balm. It's gone into flower, but I can still use it for a nice cup of tea. And then I'm going to have a look at the goldenrod, which is here. So other things that I have in this garden are lavender, and I have my apothecary roses. I have thyme growing here and yarrow. I can find yarrow in the wild. I think it's actually escaped from my garden here. And this is motherwort, which I'm taking a little bit more. I took some yesterday and I'm just going to get another couple of little handfuls. So the herb garden is a designated area for plants that do not grow wild here. And it just adds to my apothecary. So I've got some motherwort there, and I had a little bit from yesterday. I'm going to make a tincture with it. But first of all, let's just think about, why would you make yourself a herb garden? And I would say, well, why not? Because all of the herbs, they're tasty. You can put them into food. You can also use them all for medicine and keep yourself and your family healthy. You can deal with small ailments and different problems just by popping outside into the garden or wherever you find the herbs. So I grow some outside because they do not grow wild here. And motherwort is one of them. And this is excellent for the heart and for stress and for nervous tension. And so that's why I would suggest you grow herbs for your health as a preventative. Now, talking about the tasty herbs that we put into our food, that's a good place to start because everybody can easily recognize things like rosemary and sage and thyme, basil, oregano, lemon balm, mint. They're easily recognizable and they're easy to access. You can get them in supermarkets and you can get them in garden centers. If you want to grow a garden, I would get them from a garden center. And all of those culinary herbs tend to be antibacterial, antimicrobial, antiviral. So they're brilliant allies for any little complaints, especially over winter. I mean, sage, for example, is excellent for sore throats. Garlic is another herb. It's another medicinal plant that we should never overlook because I've done a video about garlic before. So you can start off with culinary herbs. And how do you grow them? Well, you can grow them on a windowsill, as I said, or you could just start off with plant pots outside the back door so they're easily accessible whenever you need them. Or you can designate a part of your garden as a herb garden. So you want to have plenty of sunlight, a little bit of shade. Obviously, all plants require different things. But the most important thing to think about when you're choosing the plants to go into your herb garden is, what do you already know about your family's health and what people need. So, for example, this motherwort is for me because I have a touch of high blood pressure. But there's a lot of plants out there that I grow for other purposes. For example, the calendula that I have here. It's incredible for balancing women's hormones, cleansing the lymph system, dealing with mouth ulcers. It's also an excellent topical remedy. So you could infuse the calendula flowers in oil and then you can make a salve. So there's multiple purposes for all of these plants. They're not just one plant does one thing for one ailment. Because of the herbal constituents and because they have multiple actions, you can apply them to many, many different situations. So you can put these beautiful, look at them, they're so exuberant and bright and exhilarating flowers into a salad, you can make a tea, you could, as I said, infuse them in oil for a salve or a topical application, or you could make a tincture. And the wonderful thing about calendula is it self-seeds very, very easily. And I'll just show you the seed heads that I picked. Yes, you can collect the seed heads and then you can decide if you want to sow them elsewhere in the garden. But they're just so beautiful, and if they pop up anywhere, they're so beautiful that it doesn't really matter where they pop up. So Lol, for example, can suffer with a bad chest during the winter. So I like to have the elecampane because the root of elecampane is a wonderful respiratory remedy. So I think about what my family needs when I decide to plant something. Goldenrod is another plant which is amazing for the respiratory system, but also the urinary system. So again, it has multiple purposes, and it is just so incredibly beautiful as well that it's a welcome addition to any garden anyway. So I'll just recap. So why would you want to grow herbs? Because you can look after your family's health as well as making meals more tasty. The culinary herbs are a great place to start because they're easy to access, they're easily recognisable, and they enhance our food as well as helping our health. Secondly, how or where are you going to grow them? So you want decent soil that's obviously full of nutrients, so you might want to use a good homemade compost. You want to find a sunny spot for them. You want to know if you're going to plant a herb garden rather than foraging for herbs, you want to know what your family's needs are. So again, just to go back to the calendula, if you've just had a new baby, a salve made with calendula is ideal for baby's bottoms, and if there should be any soreness of the breasts when you're breastfeeding. So, you know, all ages need to be accommodated in your herb garden. You might want to consider, you know, in this day and age, lots of people are under stress. There's so much stress in everybody's lives, whether it's financial or worrying about the future or some kind of existential stress. So vervain is another beautiful herb to put into your herb garden, along with plants such as well, I have it in the polytunnel actually, passiflora, California poppy. There's lots of things that you can include for herbs. Dandelion. Dandelion is a beautiful plant which is a fantastic adaptogen, helping you to adapt to different situations. Oh my goodness, I could just go on forever talking about all the different plants, but it's just to get you started, just to get you to think that it is possible. Whether you live in a high rise and you just have a veranda or a balcony or even a windowsill, you can get started. And then, of course, once you start growing your own plants, you think more about the environment and you think more about the planet, and then you start to learn about them. So everything begins to open up and you get this brand new world coming into your life. And it might stimulate you to thinking about learning more about herbs. So if you go to the website, danusirishherbgarden.com, and you look at the Hawthorne Academy section, you will see there's a number of herb courses there. I suggest you start with the introductory course, and that will give you enough information, enough knowledge to actually start growing your garden and working with those herbs in many different ways. And then you can move on to the other courses if you wish to. And then you will discover that a lot of what people think of as weeds that are out there, the enemy, they're actually your friend. Because as I said, I forage not just from my herb garden, I go all over the garden and into the hedgerows, because a lot of those weeds are very beneficial as well. So some of those weeds you can use as a liquid feed. It's all in the course there, the Introductory to Herbal Medicine course. And so I hope that's enthused and inspired you to think about creating your own herbal medicine garden. It gives such a sense of satisfaction and fulfillment, and knowledge that you are in control of your own health and destiny. And that you can't put a price on that. It's just such a wonderful place to be, a feeling to have. And I'm going to get back now to preparing my motherwort into a tincture. So get in touch if you have any questions about it as well. I'm very happy to help you with any questions. And I will see you next week. I hope you enjoyed today's film. If you did, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. And have a look at the website danusirishherbgarden.com for more information about us and about the herbal medicine courses I offer and the Wise Woman Way training. And if you go to the shop, you can find the books, the weed handbooks and other herbal goodies. And remember, we put a new film out every Sunday. So looking forward to seeing you next week.